During a fishing trip, a man spots a mama bear walking towards him with a cub in her teeth. He is scared to see her approach, but then she nudges her baby towards him, begging him to save it. And over the next few days, something shocking happens. As he fished by his favorite spot in the forest, Lucas suddenly noticed a dark shape moving toward him along the riverbank. His heart skipped a beat when he realized it wasn't a person. It was a full-grown brown bear. Lucas squinted to get a better look and felt his breath catch as he spotted a tiny, limp cub dangling from her mouth. The little one was struggling, its sides rising and falling faintly. Lucas's first instinct was to back away. Bears were known to roam this area, but they usually stayed out of sight. This encounter was far too close for comfort. Everyone knew how dangerous it was to get between a mother bear and her cub, so Lucas wisely took a step back. But then the bear did something completely unexpected. She didn't charge or growl. Instead, her deep, dark eyes locked onto his with what looked like a desperate plea. Lucas froze. Was she actually asking for help? That couldn't be right. Bears avoided humans, especially when injured or afraid. But here she was, letting out soft, low whimpers. Gently, the massive bear placed her struggling cub on the ground and nudged it toward Lucas with her nose. When he hesitated, she sat down and waited. Lucas realized she was trying to seem as non-threatening as possible. His fear slowly shifted to amazement and then to urgency. He had no idea how to treat a bear cub, but he also knew he couldn't walk away, not after that kind of trust. He remembered an old shed behind his cabin with a basic first aid kit and some blankets. Without wasting a second, Lucas spoke softly to the mama bear, trying to reassure her. To his surprise, she seemed to understand. She stepped back, letting Lucas lift the tiny cub into his arms. The little thing was incredibly fragile, and something about it stirred a fierce protectiveness in Lucas. He hurried to his cabin, the mother bear following quietly at a distance, keeping watch. Inside, Lucas laid the cub on a blanket and checked it as best as he could. There were no obvious wounds, but the cub was clearly in trouble. Lucas gently wiped it down with warm water, hoping to see some response, but nothing gave him a clear idea of what was wrong. Realizing he was in over his head, Lucas racked his brain for a solution. Then he remembered. Dr. Amelia Hayes, a wildlife vet he'd met a few years ago at a conservation meeting. She might be their only chance. He found her number on an old flyer stuck to his fridge. With fingers crossed, he dialed, praying she'd pick up and believe him. When she did, he knew this would sound insane, but he had to speak up. Dr. Hayes, it's Lucas Miller," he said, hoping she remembered. "I have a bear cub here. It's in bad shape, and its mother brought it to me. I think it needs immediate care." "Can you come?" Lucas's voice was steady, but the weight of the moment pressed down on him. He hoped she wouldn't think he'd lost his mind. If the roles were reversed and a friend called him with the same story, he'd probably assume it was a prank. There was a short silence on the other end, and Lucas braced for her to hang up. Honestly, if he were in her shoes, he might have done the same. But then, Dr. Hayes's calm and steady voice came through the line. "Keep the cub warm. I'll be there in about an hour." As Lucas hung up, he looked outside. The mother bear was still there, her eyes locked on the cabin. In that moment, he felt something pass between them, a quiet understanding, a shared urgency. They both wanted the same thing, to save the cub. Lucas went back to the little bear's side, watching its tiny chest rise and fall, a bit stronger than before. He allowed himself a small smile, a flicker of hope lighting up inside. Maybe, just maybe, Dr. Hayes could help. For now, all he could do was wait, offering warmth and comfort to the fragile life that had landed in his care. The hour dragged on until finally the sound of tires crunching on gravel signaled Dr. Amelia Hayes's arrival. Lucas rushed to meet her, nerves swirling inside him, part hope, part dread. Without wasting time, Dr. Hayes entered with her gear in tow. Her sharp, focused gaze took everything in at once. The cub, wrapped in a blanket, looked a little better, but still far from safe. She got to work immediately. Her hands were calm and practiced as she listened to the cub's heartbeat, checked its gums, and gently searched for hidden injuries. Lucas stood nearby, silent, barely breathing. After several tense minutes, Dr. Hayes stood up, her expression serious. "Lucas," she said, her voice heavy, "this cub is dealing with more than just physical stress. It's been poisoned, probably from eating something toxic out there. Its condition is very serious, and without fast, aggressive treatment, it might not make it through the night." The words hit Lucas like a punch to the gut. Poisoned. The idea felt cruel and senseless. How could such a small, innocent creature already be fighting for its life because of something humans left behind? Noticing the look on his face, Dr. Hayes quickly added, "There's still a chance. I brought antitoxins and IV fluids. We have to start right away and hope it's not too late." Her tone snapped Lucas out of his shock. They sprang into action together, carefully administering the antitoxin and setting up an IV to rehydrate the cub. Outside, the mother bear stood at the window, watching everything with quiet intensity. She didn't move once, her eyes fixed on her baby. As the medicine began to drip, Lucas found himself hoping harder than ever. He didn't know who or what he was hoping to, but it didn't matter. He felt responsible now. He hadn't caused this, but he'd been chosen to help. That meant something. Dr. Hayes kept a close eye on the cub's vitals, her face focused. The hours crawled by. The only sounds in the cabin were the gentle crackle of the fire and the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. Neither Lucas nor Dr. Hayes slept. They took shifts watching over the cub, unwilling to look away for even a second. As the night wore on, the cub slowly began to improve. Its breathing became steadier, and a faint blush of color returned to its pale gums. Dr. Hayes finally allowed herself a small smile. "It's responding to the treatment," she whispered, her voice a mix of exhaustion and cautious relief. "We're not out of the woods yet, but this is a good sign." Lucas felt a wave of gratitude so strong it took his breath away. He quietly thanked Dr. Hayes, the mama bear outside, and the tiny cub fighting with everything it had to stay alive. For a brief moment, the cabin felt like something sacred, a peaceful refuge in the middle of a wild and unpredictable world. But their calm was suddenly shattered. Dr. Amelia's phone rang, its sharp tone cutting through the quiet like a knife. Lucas's heart jumped. He watched as her expression shifted from mild curiosity to deep concern. Her brow creased as she listened closely to whoever was on the other end. When she hung up, she turned to Lucas, her face serious. "That was the clinic," she said, her voice heavy. "A cheetah just came in. Critical condition. They need me right away." Lucas could see the tension all over her face. She was caught between two emergencies, the bear cub she had fought to save and another life now hanging by a thread. "I have to go," she said at last, her words firm but reluctant. "The cub is stable now, and it's showing good signs. You've done an amazing job, Lucas. I trust you to continue from here." A wave of anxiety rushed through him. He wasn't sure he was ready to take this on alone, but seeing the resolve in Dr. Amelia's eyes, the same dedication that brought her here, gave him courage. "Go," Lucas said, his voice quiet but certain. "I've got our little fighter here. They need you more right now." She nodded, touched by his confidence. They quickly put a backup plan in place in case anything went wrong. Dr. Hayes packed her gear and left for the clinic, her silence a quiet promise. If the cub's condition changed, she'd be back. Over the next few days, Lucas stepped fully into his new role. He followed Dr. Hayes's care instructions carefully, checking the cub's meals, keeping it warm and making sure it stayed hydrated. They stayed in regular contact. Dr. Hayes would update him on the cheetah's condition. "It's a tough case," she admitted one day, "but it's slowly improving thanks to the fast response." Eventually, she returned to the cabin, carrying a hopeful spirit after seeing the cheetah stabilize. She knelt beside the cub, who was now awake and aware. "It's a good sign," she said carefully, "but it still has a long road ahead. We'll need to monitor it closely and keep its space calm and secure." The reminder was clear. The danger had passed for now, but recovery would take time and patience. Lucas knew then that he was all in, not just for the cub, but for the entire wilderness that had somehow chosen him, placing its trust and one tiny life in his hands. As the sun climbed higher, filling the cabin with warmth, Lucas stepped outside to share the good news. The mother bear was still waiting. Her eyes met his, calm and steady. She wouldn't understand his words, but that didn't matter. Lucas made a quiet vow to protect the cub just as she had, and to honor the trust she'd shown that day. The day moved on with quiet hope. Lucas and Dr. Hayes took turns feeding the cub and keeping it hydrated. As the hours passed, the cub's strength returned. It moved more, made noise, and began acting like a healthy bear again. And with that came the next big question. What happens when it's ready? "We need to start preparing for its return to the wild," Dr. Amelia stated, her tone bittersweet. "It's important for it to return to its natural habitat, especially now that we know it has the strength to survive." Lucas knew she was right, but part of him dreaded the goodbye. He'd grown deeply attached to the little bear. Its determination to live had awakened something inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. They agreed to wait a few more days, giving the cub extra time to build its strength and get ready for life back in the wild. Lucas used the time wisely, working with local wildlife experts to plan a safe release. He also prepared a suitable spot in the forest where the cub could have the best chance of thriving. The mama bear, always nearby, seemed to sense what was coming. She began edging closer to the cabin each day, her visits more frequent, as if encouraging them to move forward. The night before the release, Lucas sat by the river, reflecting. The journey from a chance encounter to becoming a guardian had left a lasting mark on him. This experience had changed him, reminding him of how fragile and beautiful nature can be, and how important it is to live in harmony with it. The next morning arrived clear and bright, like a clean page waiting to be written on. The cub, now bursting with energy, looked more than ready to face the world. Lucas, Dr. Amelia, and the wildlife experts gently secured the cub in a transport crate. Not far off, the mama bear stood quietly among the trees, watching over them as they began the walk to the release site. Lucas felt a wave of emotions, pride in what they had accomplished, sadness at letting go, and hope for everything that lay ahead for the young bear. They had given it the best shot they could. Now it was up to nature. The release was quiet and calm. The crate door swung open, and the cub paused. Then, with one small look back, it darted into the forest, vanishing into the brush. The mama bear, watching from her place among the trees, held her gaze on Lucas and Dr. Amelia for just a moment longer. Then she turned and followed her cub, disappearing into the greenery. Lucas stood still, eyes fixed on the place where they had vanished. A deep peace washed over him. He had become part of something much bigger than himself, a moment in nature's great cycle. Proof that even the smallest life can inspire change, and that unexpected bonds sometimes run the deepest. The forest was silent as Lucas and Dr. Amelia made their way back to the cabin. An undercurrent of satisfaction flowed between them, a shared sense of accomplishment in giving the bear cub a second chance at life. Their peaceful moment was suddenly broken by the distant roar of an engine. As the sound drew closer, a knot of unease twisted in Lucas's stomach. Poachers? He'd heard rumors they were moving into the area, but to face them today, on this of all days, felt like a cruel turn of events. He motioned for Dr. Amelia to stay behind and quietly approached the noise. Hidden among the trees, he spotted several men. Their intent was clear: traps, rifles, and the kind of careless confidence that made his blood boil. Fueled by everything he had experienced, the trust of the cub, the bond with its mother, Lucas stepped into view. His voice was firm and steady. "This area is protected. I've already called the rangers. Leave now, and you might avoid arrest." The poachers laughed, mocking both his warning and his willingness to defend animals they saw only as targets. Behind the trees, Dr. Amelia fumbled with her phone, searching for the ranger's number. She needed to alert them fast and also warn them to keep the bears clear of this area. They had only just regained their freedom. She wouldn't let it be taken away again. Meanwhile, Lucas and the poachers argued, their voices rising with every passing second. One of the men waved his rifle, but Lucas didn't back down. He had spent days nursing the cub back to life, earning its mother's trust. He wasn't about to let careless cruelty undo all of that. Then the forest went quiet, until a deep growl rumbled through the trees. The mama bear appeared at the edge of the clearing, her powerful form still, but her eyes burning with warning. Time froze. Then chaos. The poachers scrambled, shouting as they ran, their arrogance replaced with fear. The mere presence of the bear was enough to send them fleeing into the woods. Within moments, they were gone, leaving only silence behind. Lucas and Dr. Amelia looked at each other, relief in their eyes, followed by a burst of surprised laughter. The mama bear, their unexpected ally, gave them one final glance before turning away, vanishing once again into the wilderness she called home. Later, as the sun dipped low, Lucas sat by the riverside. He replayed everything in his mind: the cub's rescue, the healing, the danger. It had changed him. Deep down, he felt something had awakened: purpose and a clearer understanding of how closely human lives are tied to the wild. He made a promise to himself right then to dedicate more of his time and energy to wildlife protection. He would defend this forest and its creatures, ensuring that others could experience the peace and magic he had found here. And there you have it, the end of this beautiful story. Would you help a sick bear cub if its mother begged you to? Would you have the courage to confront armed criminals in the middle of a forest? Tell us in the comments below. Thanks for watching to the end. We'll catch you in the next video.